Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Cheshta Dora, Head of Research, Content, and Community at People Matters, and I'm glad to be moderating this webinar for you all today. Before we start, I'd love to know where you all are joining us from. So go ahead and type in the cities you're joining us from. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us again. So, People Matters recently launched their flagship annual research, SHRPA 2024 Global SEA in India Specific Reports. For those of you who do not know, SHRPA is the largest and the most influential HR research in the APAC and MENA region that deep dives into the current and evolving scenario of people and work industry and the strategic shifts that can be expected in the next 12 to 18 months in the HR industry. So the three shifts and imperatives for HR that we observed in India report are: number one, 76% of HR leaders will prioritize building leaders with the right skills and mindset to drive faster change implementation. Number two, 73% of HR leaders will enhance the agility and effectiveness of HR service delivery teams to build a resilient function. And 74% of HR leaders will focus on aligning business, talent, and tech strategy to maximize the full potential of technology investments, is the number third. Now, how did we reach these insights? How did we reach some of these shifts and the imperatives for HR leaders? For that, you can download our detailed research reports, the link to which you can now see in the comments. Now, in today's webinar, Advancing HR Tech Architecture to Elevate Talent Management Impact, we will touch upon all of them, but mostly deep dive into the third shift and imperative. Why is that? So we feel today in the world of work that we have, technology is indispensable for HR to boost their effectiveness in managing the human capital and deliver business value through their work. The growing business focus on workforce productivity requires HR to strengthen its ability to hire, skill, and retain the right people using the right tech architecture. We heard this from so many HR practitioners that we interviewed during the research. Now, according to People Matters Sherpa research, we also saw over 95% of HR leaders in India say maintaining high workforce productivity has been a challenge. And India is falling behind in its HR tech evolution journey specifically as a result, and is also facing challenges to ensure workforce success and overall productivity of organizations. We also saw that 7 in 10 companies with low HR tech maturity also falling behind the tech execution journey. So there is definitely a need to develop HR tech architecture, a sustainable one that is, to keep pace with business and talent shifts and ensure people-centric implementation. Now, what's in it for you today? In this webinar, we will focus on emerging gaps and strategic shifts that HR and business leaders in India must be aware of, and some of the solution strategies and best practices that we should focus on in the next 12 to 18 months. And in this, we have some of our leading tech and talent industry experts highlighting the critical priorities and uncovering those solutions for you. So the eminent industry experts joining us today are Vaibhav Goyal, Senior Vice President and Head, HR E&P Business at Reliance Industries. A very warm welcome, Vaibhav.
Hi, Cheshta.
It's great to have you here. A little bit about Vaibhav here. Vaibhav is a strategic and entrepreneurial HR leader for over 15 years of experience in strategy, people, organization, and large-scale digital initiatives. He's currently head of HR for RIL E&P Business and has been deeply involved in various strategic initiatives, HR innovation, and digital agile transformations at scale. He's also been cited as one of the top HR minds in India by CHRO Asia in Feb 2020, and also top 50 HR leaders shaping the future of work in 2022. A very warm welcome to you, Vaibhav. We are glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Cheshta. The pleasure is all mine and looking forward to a very engaging conversation.
Great. Now, the second expert joining us today is Leena Wakankar, CHRO at ASK Group.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Leena. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Jishta. Hi, Vaibhav. Glad to be here.
So So, a little bit about her. Tina is the CHRO at AST Group, one of the largest wealth management and asset management firms in India. An MBA with over 20 years of breadth of experience. Lena was earlier associated with ICICI Group, Sony Entertainment, and Atos Intel. She has also initiated the HCM Transformation Initiative to support ASK's non-linear growth plans, which has embarked on a journey to drive an innovation mindset, ensuring transparency and productivity using the process excellence, technology, and literally creating teams which truly think global and can stay ahead of the external changes that we are seeing today. A very warm welcome to both of you again, and I'm really excited to delve deeper into this conversation today with both of you. Great. So, before we start, I want to tell to our listeners, our audience as well, that feel free as we discuss this topic, feel free to add in your questions in the comments as well, and we'll be happy to take as much as we can during the conversation or after the conversation. All right, so without further ado, let's start with our first question. I'd love to hear from both of you on this. What are some of the key challenges, according to you, HR leaders in India face today in integrating advanced technologies into the HR practices? And how can some of these challenges be overcome to enhance the workforce productivity? That's the overall goal that CXOs are looking for. We can start with you, Vaibhav.
Sure. Thanks, Jeshta. So I think today the HR agenda on the technology and the talent is not just an HR agenda. And though I think there is a variety of challenges that can be faced, and rather than getting into those specifics, I would rather talk about that. What are three or four strategies which can help HR leaders to really overcome the different kind of challenges that they face? And first, I must start with that you must have heard it often that the business buy-in is where it all starts. But specific to the HR technology agenda, I must say that the business buy-in is not just about the initiative or the HR tech architecture. It's actually end-to-end buy-in that HR leaders should drive in a very collaborative way. And when I say end-to-end, it means what is the business outcome that we are really chasing. Once you have that kind of an agreement with the business leaders, you'll find the kind of sponsorship and the support that will come in both for the highs during the program implementation as well as some of the issues that we all face. The support is going to be tremendous, and that is going to make a huge difference. The second I would talk about is when we talk of technology and HR technology, technology is not just about HR today or only happen in the HR arena. So technology is a broad-based change agenda today across businesses, across organization. So second suggestion from my end is that HR leaders should become part of a broader HR transformation in their businesses and organization. HR leaders need to find a way to dovetail into those broad-based agenda and see that how HR can be more enabling and a partner in that rather than HR technology becoming a big agenda by itself. Third, I would always say that it should not be seen that HR technology initiative is for HR. HR has a very unique vantage point. Any HR initiative touches each and every employee of the organization. If, for example, there's a finance technology initiative or a operations technology initiative, it does not really touch each and every employee. But anything that HR brings in new touches each and every employee. It's very important that the message is out there that what's in it for each employee. And the less it is seen as an HR agenda or HR for HR, the more success will come your way.
Absolutely. And I think all the 3 points you've highlighted, Vaibhav, I think are very important to ensure that HR technology solutions are implemented at scale and all the leaders and employees are on board about it early on. So I think it helps with the approvals, adoptions, everything. So I think you've given a very comprehensive view there. Thank you. Lena, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think Vaibhav has covered most of the critical strategy, board level, and HR leadership level aspects. I will just cover a few other which are more on the. I'll just move on to the operational side. I would say because there is a strategy aspect and there's an operational aspect. One of the key things which HR will usually face is a resistance to change. And because any technology initiative is always a resistance to change, and while there are and hence making a business case for employee to see, like what he said, what isn't it there for me for an employee, while it is at the board also for an employee, becomes very critical, because even their productivity can improve if there are systems which are impacting them from an HR perspective on a day-to-day basis. So I think that is a very critical aspect. For example, if there is a performance measure which is there, which can help them tell, if not every day nobody's really measuring performance. That's a myth. But on a regular basis, that really helps an employee to know where he or she really stands on a quarterly basis. So that really, can be a game changer. So there is a resistance, but as long as employee knows what is in it there for them, I think that also helps to a large extent. Another aspect is there is, while this whole implementation happens, HR teams often also lack technology skills themselves. So HR teams also need to upgrade, because it is not technology's job. The ownership is with the HR teams, with the functional teams, I would say. So to understand what is getting implemented, why it is getting, what APIs are being, why is an API required, with what system it is required. I think that really, if their tech skills are upgraded well within when the system is getting finalized, they can actually make a huge impact to the organization. Like what Vaibhav said, it is not about HR, it's for the organization. It's impacting an employee in his life cycle. But that can happen truly when our skills are upgraded ourselves. We know technology and we understand technology holistically, I would say. And I think the last aspect would be that there are a lot of budget constraints which are there, and for I would say corporate functions, necessarily it doesn't really, the impact has to be seen. So when an ROI is really brought on the table, I would say that is where really the budget constraints can be countered, and finally the numbers have to speak for themselves. So I think these are the three challenges, and somewhere I think they can be countered. There are many more ways to counter, but these are some of the things that come top of my mind.
Right, right, absolutely. And thank you for covering that whole gamut as well. I really liked also when you said, and something that got highlighted in our research also around HR functional and tech skills. When we were researching, we also found in our insights in terms of change management, when we actually asked HR leaders on how what is their level of satisfaction in HR effectiveness in implementing and readiness for those changes. It came out like we found that they are acing change readiness. They are really good at some of the things in to enable change readiness, to build the change intent in the organization. But when it comes to executing, most of them displayed their dissatisfaction. And when we drill deeper into it, we realize it is about a lot about HR's own functional effectiveness, own technological skills, that were kind of one of the reasons that were kind of like hampering them. So they need to build a more agile and resilient function and upskill and become HR for HR in order to, kind of really make this happen. And one of the major
Uh,
roadblocks, yes, Vaibhav.
I just want to add one more point here. So 200% agree with Lena that I think the digital skills is no longer about the IT function. They have to be enterprise-wide capabilities now, including our own HR function. But I just want to make one counterintuitive point over here, that when we go ahead with even HR technology implementation and change agenda, I dare say that today there's so much of technology fatigue out there that we have to bring in a craft of storytelling in it, and the messaging has to be less of technology implementation and more of about the people agenda over here. And I think uh, that is something that HR is again in a unique position to bring out that aspect of the change. So while we do technology, but we should talk less of technology and more of the people agenda while driving it.
Yeah, I think I agree. I see from where Weber is coming, because that is where the selling comes in. And if the tech skills are upgraded, I think we are delivering on the sales story. I think I would put 2 points together in that way.
Yeah, you need to have both. You need to have
Yeah.
both.
Complementary, yes, absolutely. Speaking of technology and how HR can really impact, leverage technology to impact areas like productivity. One of the major roadblocks, Lena and Weber, we've also seen as AI and advanced analytics, specifically people analytics. So, in your opinion, how can AI and people analytics be leveraged in HR to not only improve productivity, but also support talent management functions such as recruitment, skilling, retention? Could you share some of the strategies or examples that help HR leaders overcome these existing barriers?
So I think AI analytics is not new to that extent. I think
Yeah.
analytics has been there because data has been there for a long time. But what is critical is data accuracy. I think that is,
Yes.
if data is not accurate, then analytics is as much as what we go back to Excel and we start doing pivots is what I would say. But that also is very helpful because a lot of organizations are doing that as long as there is sense made out of that data. But I think AI is relatively new. Generative AI. AI is not new. Generative AI is new. And one has to really see how the story unfolds. But AI, to that extent, I mean, there are softwares available which have been implemented as well. How effectively they are being used, like for example, I'm sure Weber's organization is using it. Ours is also implemented, and we are also testing it now. In terms of AI being used to screen resumes to match the job skills for to and then really come down to which are the candidates we would like to shortlist, and then figure out. But the whole aspect is that are we missing out on something? So the human element will always remain, because recruitment is, so every aspect of HR, I would say, is not really black and white, is not 0 1. There is always a gray area. And if we are hiring, for example, for cultural anchors, if we have to look at attitude versus just the job skills, and there are so many aspects to a human being, AI will give the base. There is much more to that. And how do we then use that data to make sense out of that is what organizations are trying to do, I would say. And they're doing much more, is what I have seen. So recruitment, they're seeing employee engagement, for example, there are surveys being done. There is so much more that can be, really is being, there are actions that are being taken basis that data. One of the only aspects that I will just end my point is that predictive analysis that we keep talking about, whether human beings can really be predictive, is something that I always keep questioning myself, because they are quite unpredictable a lot of times. So that's where I really is my view.
Weber, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this data analytics and AI, it reminds me of a poem which I read probably since younger years in the school. It's just one phrase of it, like water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So it becomes like data, data everywhere, no clean data available, right? So Lina, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And same way, it's like analytics, analytics everywhere, but no meaningful analytics. So let me, so that's the like the humor side of it. But as I see it, I agree with Lena that the clean data, the right kind of data, the holisticity of data is all that is required. But I would also say that that is a kind of a long journey, and we have to find some ways during that journey that how some of these technologies can bring a real difference. So one of the key thing is that when you look at productivity gains coming from this space, I would typically divide it into two parts, which is efficiency gains and effectiveness gains. And in terms of efficiency is where I see majority of the AI aspect falling in. So AI is today more of an assistive technology, so it can bring in some kind of automation, some kind of efficiency gains. But when we are talking of real insights, predictive analytics, which means we are talking of effectiveness, a more of a significant impact, a business outcome, then it's AI and analytics cannot be bucketed together today. Analytics is a slightly different there. And there, my strong urge to all the HR leaders out there and practitioners is start with the business problem statement. Until we don't start with a real good business problem statement, we don't know what kind of analytics is required, what kind of data is required. Sometimes less data could be sufficient to make an impact. So I would really say it's like sharpening your axe. Here, the analogy for sharpening your axe is work on the problem statement you want to solve. If you spend 50% time on it, I'm sure you'll find a greater, much greater ROI on your analytics. AI so far is assistive technology. Totally agree with Dina that it will help most of the managers improving their people decisions, HR improving their people decisions, but still it's an art. It is nowhere near science.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we have consensus in that in order to use people analytics effectively and end to end, we need to have data that makes sense, data that's accurate, that's complete, that's timely. That was one framework that I read somewhere, ACT, very simple framework as a thumb rule that we can see to ensure that our data that's going inside our AI driven platforms, our people analytics platforms that we are using to ensure that we have the right insights coming in and our dashboards are more integrated and not disjointed. So completely there with you. And then also keeping the business problem statement as the center of it and the talent challenges and keeping the goalpost clear. So thank you for talking about some of these and the potential strategies that HR leaders can utilize. One thing we also observed when in the research, we kind of segmented organizations based on their technology maturity. We observed that we have only about one third of progressive leaders in India who have like very integrated progressive tech architecture. About two-thirds of them are either laggards or adopters when it comes to tech maturity curve, which makes 7 in 10 organizations lagging behind their change execution journey as well. So in your opinion, what are some of the main reasons that you could think of organizations are still lagging in their HR tech adoption here, and how can HR leaders really make a compelling business case to accelerate that transition to a more advanced tech architectures?
Right. So I think while I broadly agree what the report is talking about, the Sherpa People Matters report, but I think to get into very specifics, one has to really slice and dice the data. But here is my take on it.
Right.
Uh, as far as technology is concerned, if you ask me, open source technologies, cloud, and analytics kind of came in as a huge wave almost 7, 8 years back. However, most organizations have not really taken a big leap into it until very recently. And that tells us that when we talk of technology implementation and its ROI, there's a lot of technology available. I don't think there's dearth of capital for the right use cases also. Where the challenge continues to remain is in the talent and the leadership mindset. Uh, I would refer to your reports. One of the specific insights around the perception gap between the technology providers and the HR leadership decision makers. And the clear insight for me there is that while the technology has moved mainly to cloud and the SaaS platform layers, but the expectations, the mindset, and the habits are more towards the legacy systems, wherein HR leaders are still maybe wanting more of customization, while the technology providers are completely against customization in a SaaS platform context. So I think there is definitely more of a journey required for the leaders and the leadership mindset to evolve on the technology side. That how the cloud technologies, analytics technologies, SaaS platforms are supposed to be leveraged within the organization. But I also understand they're constrained because a lot of existing solutions today are legacy and they have not fully migrated. So it's
Yeah.
like you're caught between the a little bit past and a little bit into the future. And how this transition is going to be happening, again, I'll come back to the same point. It's not just HR agenda for the technology landscape. The more HR jumps onto the broader agenda of technology transformation within the organization, the more support they'll find. And I think that's the best possible opportunity to move from laggards to maybe the progressive organizations.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Any thoughts on that, Lena, on how can we accelerate this transition? Anything you've observed in your organizations or other your organization or other organizations?
So I think adding to what Weber has said, there are critically if I have to just put in, there are, to my mind, top of the mind are three concerns that come in. One we have briefly touched upon. One is cost concern. Where cost comes in. Whether we want to really change from a legacy or a traditional system, etc. Second is in terms of cultural resistance, which we spoke about, the mindset change. And third is the ROI. One of the things that HR leaders, HR fraternity can really look at is putting up case studies as to what is the internal case studies as to if there is a transition that happens, then what is the ROI that we are looking at and how is that cost justified? So at least, and then of course delivering, well with that, that particular what we are trying to address at that point in time. So I think that is what that concern can get addressed as far as approvals, etc., is concerned, is what I briefly touched upon as well. But otherwise, I think in terms of why they are lagging, just to touch upon what Weber has said, a lot of times customization is required because we want every system to the T. A lot of times, if customization is not done, then the cost also comes down drastically. The changes are not done, implementation is much faster, and effectiveness actually can be seen very easily. So it's a matter of only changing our own processes a little bit and seeing if the implementation can be done much faster. So I think if that we do, then I think it will be a much easier process for HR as well. A lot, I think in India specifically, I have seen this, that HR wants every process to be customized. And when that happens, a system, no matter what system we take, the upgrades will be, the system is costly, implementation is expensive, upgrades are expensive, and overall, then to justify ROI is never going to happen, because at the end of the day, when the system is anyways customized, after that also you're doing manual work over it, because the system's efficiency comes down by at least 50%. So let the system do what they're supposed to design. It is designed to do. When we do that, I think a lot of things just are just taken care of. So it's a matter of even HR changing its mindset, not just the organization, is how I would put it.
Totally loved what you said, Lena. And it's like giving an example. You can make a fantastic movie in 300 crores budget, and you can also make a fantastic movie which can win Oscar in 30 crore budget. So the question is, do you have the right story first? And then you really prioritize where you want to spend. I want to make a very practical tip over here to all the listeners. One of the advantages of a SaaS and a cloud platform is that you don't have to go for a full scale implementation right away. Choose few prototype use cases with very low customization. Run those, see the ROI, see whether your assumptions are working. And if that works out, then you can truly scale and invest big. And that kind of an agility comes with the cloud and SaaS platforms. What I'm really surprised is that uh, directly jumping into the scale and not using a prototyping and iterative methodology is something not going to work, because new age cloud and SaaS technology platforms are not going to be cheaper as we go. Even Gen AI is going to be more costly. So you have to iterate, you have to come into an agile mindset. And that will also bring in some change in mindset internally, because the best way to do it is to do it.
Right, that's so true. Thank you, Lena, for bringing such a provocative thought in here for all the HR leaders who are listening to us, and also adding a very practical approach to it, Vaibhav. I think it would be truly beneficial for HR leaders to try and implement this and follow that agile approach to see how and when the scalability can happen. And that's where I think HR tech partners are also required to lead the narrative and support, not just support, and really partner with HR leaders in each step of the way to bring that confidence and assurance. In the same research segment, as Vaibhav, you mentioned in the beginning as well, we also saw HR tech partners and experts stating that the lack of focus on change management is also one of the barriers to adopting new technology, apart from over focus on configurability, customizations, etc. So according to both of you, how can HR leaders effectively navigate that business resistance, and what are some of the strategies you think can be put in place to really foster a culture that embraces HR tech innovation in the organization?
So I think we just touched upon this aspect, and the question couldn't be well timed.
Yeah.
Uh, I think if you look from a tech partner's perspective, well, most of them do not come from the HR domain. They have limited understanding of the business and organization, and they have done a lot of effort into what they have built. So they want others to change. And like Lena mentioned, HR itself is not ready to change. They want every process, every policy to be customized to the T as per their what they think is right for their organization. I think the first is both of them have to come to a collaborative mindset. So the more there is a more of a partnership approach, that I think is going to go a long way. The second I would talk about is that some of these cloud and SaaS platform technology is still a little bit alien to the organizations and HR leaders, HR practitioners, also to the rest of the managers, because as I mentioned earlier, any change that HR brings touches each and every employee. So it's very important that HR also thinks from their own internal customers perspective, that how comfortable they are with this new set of technology. So the real answer to the question is, do prototyping, iterate in a collaborative and a partnership mode. See if it's working. If sometimes there's a genuine changes required on the technology side, and tech partners would see why it is so required. And sometimes the HR would see that there's no real customization required, because the productivity gains or the real outcomes can still be achieved, or sometimes even be better, because there are different ways to do the same thing. And I think this collaborative and prototyping approach is truly enabled by the clouds and the SaaS architecture. And you don't really have to invest upfront heavily to do it. Try it out and see what's the best way forward. One thing I must say that most of the HR, they have, if they can involve the business and the line also into the prototyping stage, then they would also become the real sponsors to the whole initiative. And I have tried it, I've done it, so I can definitely vouch for it.
That's great to know, Vaibhav. Lina, as you're building truly global teams here, what are your thoughts?
So I think completely agree with Weber. Even we have involved the business teams in certain phases of the implementation. I think one of the key aspects that we have also, I truly believe, and what we have done in HR is that when the whole cloud journey, cloud really started in 2012, if I remember, and that's when really it started picking up. HR was the first one at ASK to implement a cloud platform. So I think HR can truly lead the change agenda for the organization, and we can walk the talk for that matter, because resistance is not just for an HR solution. Even when business is implementing something, there is a resistance which is there. I think wherever there's a change, there is going to be a resistance. But if HR can really, because as Weber mentioned in the earlier thoughts that he put across, that there is a mindset issue which is there, and there is a block, which employees or anybody will have when there is a change that really comes in an organization. So for that, and HR is not playing an HR role, it is playing a organization wide role because we are connected across. So why not be a change agent for across the organization for all departments? So when we actually lead this entire change agenda, I think we earn a seat on the table. And when we do that, it is no longer HR tech innovation. It is, so today, if it is AI, it is generative AI. We actually form a part of that committee. We are a part of that committee at ASK, where we are discussing how it can impact the whole organization, not just HR. HR is going to happen in any case, but there is a larger impact that we are talking about. And I think that is where HR can actually start leading, because that's the next step for us now. So HR tech is one part, but really, how do we take the leap ahead? Because to my mind, it is not, resistance is one aspect, but if we now don't counter and take care of that resistance and take the lead, HR doesn't take the lead. I think the rate at which technology is changing and new innovations are coming in, or there is no option for an organization but to adopt to it. So I think HR is in a very sweet spot right now to to lead that entire change in the organization.
So true. And I can see Vaibhav smiling in agreement there.
Totally.
Great. So, really looking at 2025 here, Vaibhav and Leena, we also saw 76% of HR leaders say that they're hoping to build a sustainable HR infrastructure by aligning business talent and tech strategies better. And for that, I think scalability and responsible utilization of technology were also some of the non negotiables that we saw. But apart from change management, configurability, and some of the practical tips that you just spoke about, what are some of the other immediate steps that you can think of organizations and HR leaders should take in the next, 1 to 2 years to really align their HR system with the evolving needs of business and workforce both?
So I think one of the things that we plan to do, and not very popular in India, is tech audit. Tech audit at this stage is very important because it will actually tell us whether the systems that we have, are they scalable, are they ready for the future. So tech audit is, I think, it's not easy because usually, all it involves investment. So we are also discussing internally whether we should do it for the entire organization, because it's not, again, it's not just about HR system. And also, I think once that happens, then laying out a basis, that if we can lay out a clear roadmap for the next 2 years, as to, that's the plan, in terms of what we want to do a pilot program, because every system really may not really be beneficial for HR or for the organization. So we plan to do pilot programs and see whether, involve employees again, to see whether they are going to be beneficial for us, whether data is going to be useful for us, and only then to go for the implementation. So I think today, even the implementation partners as well as the organizations, the providers, are ready to do these pilot programs, because they know that technology is changing faster and the requirements are also changing faster. So I think that is these are some of the 2 3 things that we plan to do in the near future at ASK.
That's great and quite practical, ambitious, I would say, but practical as well. I think for the way the technology is changing day by day, and also really integrating HR technology with the whole digital transformation ambition that organizations lead with. Yeah, Weber, what are your thoughts on that?
So, just building on what Lena said, I look forward to this more in terms of looking at some maturity frameworks. They are available various for the technology landscape as well as for the talent in the context of technology. And there's enterprise organizational maturity levels which are very well available and defined. And within those 2 3 maturity frameworks, the way at least I propose is that technology has to be treated like a foundation cutting across. So that's where the whole fundamentals of the entire business and organization's operating model needs to change. That technology is available to all and it's foundational. Second, I would say is the talent and the capability maturity framework in the context of technology evolution. And there are certain requirements which is enterprise wide, and there are certain very clearly functional requirements. And I think those kind of gap and need analysis, in a way, what Lina is saying at audit, I'm using the word maturity frameworks, is will emerge. And I think those all actions can be chalked out over the next 12 to 18 months. But I'll still come back in terms of time and resources prioritization. The context has to be what is the business purpose that we want to achieve over the next 2 years, 3 years, and what is the direction that we want to go. Otherwise, it can become a very big exercise which can be all over the place in multiple directions, and there could be a lot of, I would say, lower focus than what it should be. And focus is the only thing that will also help us deal with the fast pace of technology evolution, because that will help us reach goals faster, bring faster ROI, and will gain more and more maturity. So prioritization is extremely key if you're looking for a time frame of 12 to 18 months.
Right, absolutely. And I think with this, we've also kind of answered, hopefully, to one of our listeners, Sheena's question on how can HR orgs effectively manage the process of digital transformation to minimize disruption as well. So thank you so much for really giving us some of the practical solutions here. Mindset change, that technology is foundational and for all, and then some of the toolkits like tech audits and tech maturity frameworks for gap analysis and tech strategy, to ensure that HR leaders are investing in sustainable tech infrastructure. Now, on to my last question here in the interest of time as well, and something that Sandhya over here in comments asked: what are the core competencies HR leaders need to develop to maximize the potential of HR tech? I know, Lina, you covered this a bit in the beginning in terms of HR's tech skills as well. And we know building HR's capability to effectively use advanced tech is critical here. So, what are your thoughts on some of the skills and capabilities that HR teams need to develop to better leverage these technologies in the organization?
So I think let me just delve deeper into the tech skills itself, where so because we spoke about change management, we spoke about the other aspects, so I will not touch upon the same. One of the key aspects I think today for HR leader is AI literacy, and I'm consciously using the word literacy because it's a new topic. Gen AI is certainly is something that we all are trying to understand. While Chat GPT looks very attractive, looks very convenient, and is very effective. But what is it that what happens when somebody when we are putting data on ChatGPT? What are the data security issues? What happens? Why is why does the IT team come back and talk about security concerns holistically to look at AI from an organization perspective, and then have a roadmap to be worked along with the tech team, I think is a very critical aspect. And hence, AI literacy is very critical, because AI, there is data, all data is out there. And how that data is going to be used, misused, is a very important understanding today for HR leaders. So that is one aspect. Second aspect is, I think, in terms of data analytics, because we all have data and we have loads of data. But and we can have, I think we have also, a lot of organizations have transitioned to having accurate data as well today, is what I would like to believe. But how to really use that data when it comes to making decisions, making policy decisions, supporting, and I think, I'm sure a lot of us are doing that already. And then really changing the game as newer generation is also coming into the workforce, because every the same things. So for us also, I think being vigilant and understanding what changes have to come in quickly is very, very critical, and data can provide a lot of aspects to it very quickly. We don't really have to get a feedback from employees. Data itself is the feedback for us. So I think these two aspects really come to the top of my mind, apart from the some of the skills we already spoke about.
Right. That's good to know. Vaibhav, any thoughts on that?
Yes, so I think so. Lena, has you have covered all the tech aspect and the data and decision making aspect. I would really like to emphasize that one of the core capabilities I foresee is important now for HR is really design thinking and empathy led design thinking. And I know it's being talked about for the last 4 5 years a lot, but I can guarantee you, not even 10% HR practitioners have made a serious effort in developing this as a skill. And this is fundamental. I think HR has to come out of the era of policy design. Now, the mindset of policy design is one solution fit all. And the mindset of design thinking is the customer or the people at the center, a human centered design. And personalization is an inherent aspect of it. And I dare say that these two are opposite ends of the spectrum. So, moving from policy design to an empathy led design is a huge journey. So I would strongly urge our fellow HR practitioners to develop this as a skill. And until you practice it, it's not going to come. It's not something that you do a 2 hour course and you got a design thinking skill. So it will cover a whole host of new things. And I think this is going to make a big change. So, and this is what, without doing it, I'm guaranteeing that personalization as an inherent design aspect will never come to HR. So that's my first big take. Second is negotiation and influencing. I think today the need and the ask is more. Today, HR has to influence business a lot more. Today, HR has to convince business a lot more. Today, HR also has to deal with external stakeholders, all kind of people issues, the changing demographics, different level of expectations. So, influencing, negotiation, persuasion is becoming more and more in demand. I would put it in a different way that over the last 20 years, a lot of HR systems got implemented and a lot of HR practitioners have been spending time on the systems.
Yeah.
In the next 5 years, the HR practitioners are going to come off the system because of a lot of automation happening. And as the need for in human to human interaction skills are going to increase, this negotiation, persuasion, and influencing is going to be the number one skill that is going to be required, whether you call them HR business partners, talent management experts, and whatever role. Third, I would definitely talk about is change experts. And when I say change experts, again, the phrase has been beaten to the bush. The number one skill that I see that people look forward to HR for the right kind of messaging and storytelling is extremely, extremely going to be important. In today's age of information clutter, if you want your message to cut across and pass through and make real impact, there's no better way to do than storytelling. So taking all that Lena said, extremely important technology, data driven decision making skills. Without that, you don't even get started. But I think over the next 5 years, the more and more AI and technology takes the regular stuff, you have to go back to the design thinking, influencing persuasion, and bringing the storytelling as the core skill of change expert.
Great. Thank you so much. I think this response couldn't be more comprehensive by Lena taking up the technical skills and you talking about all the human skills here. And the messaging could not be more clear here. Thank you so much again, Vaibhav and Lena, for agreeing to speak with us, getting on the panel, and for these wonderful insights. I, for one, have definitely learned a lot here. And for our audience also, I would like to summarize it in our 5 key takeaways here as the Sherpa State of the HR Industry webinar that we have. Number one, there is a definite need for more integrated, advanced AI tech architecture and mapping the benefits of technologies in improving productivity at both strategic level which includes leadership buy-in early on and a mindset that HR tech scalability is an org-wide digitalization initiative and at an operational level, including what's in it for me for employees, equipping HR teams with tech skills, etc. The second one is addressing the broken analytics journey to improve ROI and building a better case for HR technology implementation. For that, we heard data accuracy is critical in terms of productivity. We can see efficiency gains and effectiveness gains both if we really start with the business problem statement in mind and keeping the goalpost clear. The third one is enhancing change management support and overcoming business resistance to adopting new technologies. In that, as Vaibhav said, a more partnership and collaborative approach between HR leaders and HR tech partners is the key to change management and effective tech prototyping and implementation. And Dina said how a mindset shift is required at an org level for which HR leaders can play the role of change agents really. Number four is building sustainable tech infrastructure. For that, a mindset that technology is foundational and for all. And some of the other solutions like tech audits and tech maturity frameworks can really help make an informed tech strategy and investing in the sustainable tech infrastructure. And number five, last but not the least, for really HR leaders and the teams, how building HR skill set to leverage advanced technology is very, very critical, for which we have spoken AI literacy, data driven decision making, empathy led design thinking, influencing, and becoming change experts. The storytelling approach are the critical skills that HR leaders should look out for in 2025 and beyond. I hope I've covered everything, Weber and Lina.
Yes, yes, very comprehensively.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. And in fact, that helps me to refresh everything. So thanks, Jeshta. Thank you, Lena, for wonderful
you.
conversation.
Sounds great. And for everyone else to read our research in detail, we will drop in again the link of the report. Feel free to download it and get back to us if you have any questions on the global or India specific insights. Thank you again for your time and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeshta. Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeshta, Lena. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.